Deputy President David Mabuza will be at the Kusile Power Station in Delmas, Mpumalanga for an oversight visit this morning. To bring us more on that story, let's cross over to Natasha Phiri. Natasha, good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Leah, and of course to our SABC viewers. We're coming to you all the way from Mpumalanga in Mpumalanga, of course at the Kusile Power Station. And as you've correctly said, that the Deputy President, Mr. David Mabuza, will be conducting an oversight visit here, of course with the Eskom task team, including the Eskom CEO, Mr. Andre de Ruyter. And of course, the whole point of this visit is actually to check up on the power plant here at Kusile. We know that it's 50% operational. It was supposed to be completed in 2023, and Mudupi, which is in Lephalala, is actually supposed to be completed in 2020. But to speak to us more, we're joined by the Eskom CEO, Mr. Andre de Ruyter, who will actually tell us more about this oversight visit. Mr. de Ruyter, thank you so much for joining us in SABC News. In terms of this power plant, it is supposed to be completed in 2023. Just tell us more about that.
So unfortunately the project has had some delays. We are catching up. The project team is now operating extremely well. I just had a discussion with the project director, Mr. Avin Maharaj, and he's assured me that Unit 4 will be starting its commissioning process next week. So that is then the first step towards going into commercial operation. So we are catching up and we're putting every effort into complete this plant.
Also talking about other issues, Eskom is actually really facing a crisis. Winter is actually looming right now. Can you give us any assurance as to will there be load shedding this winter?
So we are doing our utmost to avoid load shedding this winter. At this point in time, if we can keep our partial load losses under control, the prognosis is positive. But the Eskom generation system is old. It is not as reliable as we would want it to be, and therefore we don't make promises, but we can give the nation the comfort that we are doing the best we can.
Okay. In terms of the other issues around Eskom, that there's a wage impasse, deadlock of negotiations between labour unions, NUM and NUMSA. They've specifically wanted you to actually address them as unions. Eskom is not willing to bow down to their demands. In terms of wages and the talks between the two parties, how are things so far?
So we've got a meeting scheduled with the unions on Monday morning where I will be addressing them and taking them through the detail of the turnaround plan in accordance with their request. And then we are confident that we will be able to proceed with the wage negotiations.
Also, another elephant in the room, Mr. de Ruyter, you're facing an internal investigation, claims against you of allegations leveled against you of racism and interfering with certain contracts in Eskom. How's that so far?
So Advocate Semenya, Senior Counsel, has been appointed by the board to conduct the investigation. He has started and very happy to cooperate with that investigation and to abide by the outcome.
We also understand that Eskom, earlier on my colleagues in Mpumalanga had covered the story, Eskom is seeking to sell the Kusile housing project, which is about 800 million rand to the Department of Human Settlements.
That is correct. So this project was one of the consequences of state capture, where we unfortunately overspent and ended up with a housing complex that was never occupied. Now, there is a significant housing need in the Paula community, which is close to Ogies, and what we want to do is to cooperate with the Department of Human Settlements to make this available to alleviate the housing need.
There's also another contentious issue, the issue around the privatization of Eskom. Are you looking at that?
No, that's not on the cards at all. Eskom is a natural monopoly, particularly our transmission grid, and to sell a natural monopoly to the private sector would expose, I think, the public of South Africa to too much risk, so they are not pursued.
And then just what is Eskom doing to deal with issues of corruption? We know that those executives have been arrested in regards to, corruption, and over 700 billion, correct me if I'm wrong, in regards to, Kusile here.
Yeah, there's an amount in total of about 178 billion rands worth of contracts that are under investigation. It's important to stress that not the entire 178 billion was misappropriated, so it's a portion of that. We're working very closely with the Hawks, with the Special Investigating Unit, as well as with the NPA. You will have seen some news flow recently about the suspension of another senior manager. So we are doing our utmost to address the unfortunate culture of corruption that still persists among individual employees. And I think it's important to emphasize that not all Eskom employees are compromised. We are talking about a small number of individuals, and we are pursuing those.
I know I said lastly, in the previous question, but I mean, a lot of people have been, criticizing Eskom, a state-owned enterprise. Is it a failed institution?
I think we came very close to failing, but we are now turning the organization around. We have been able to reduce our debt significantly by about 80 billion over the past financial year. We are working very hard on cost savings. We've saved about 16 billion rand in costs. We are focusing on our procurement practices. We are addressing corruption. We're looking at our operations, improving the stability of our operations. So a lot of effort is going into turning this operation around and regaining the trust of South Africa.
Thank you so much. We definitely will catch up with you later on today. Thank you. Well, Leanne, the viewers, there you have it. The Eskom CEO, Mr. Derrida, saying that they are trying by all means to turn around Eskom, and of course saying to South Africans that they will do everything in their might to avoid load shedding this coming winter. We expect the Deputy President to arrive at any time now to actually be briefed here besides me, alongside with members of the Eskom task team, of course, which comprises of representatives from Eskom, a state security agency, the Ministry of Public Enterprises and of Finance. And of course, as SABC, we will give you all the latest developments and updates in regards to this very important story. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
Right, that's it. Let's leave it there. Thanks very much. We'll, again, I no doubt check in with you throughout the day for this visit from the Deputy President that will be going and visiting Kusile. All right, let's